So here we are with two versions of Apple's new Mac Mini. So on the left we have the base M4, and then on the right we have the step up to the M4 Pro. Now, if you're familiar with Apple's Mac Minis in the past, you'll know they've always been known for their size and affordability, as well as the amount of power and juice they're able to push or cram into such a small form factor. Now, with that being said, Apple's done the same thing, made it even smaller, and gave it even more power. But the real question I want to answer today is the $800 price increase from the M4 to the M4 Pro really worth it? And does it actually translate to anything in the real world? And with that, let's dive in and find out. First, let's talk about the design. They both look almost identical on the outside. Apple's always done a design that's very minimal and sleek. But under the hood, they're quite different, as the base model that starts at a price of $599 has a 10-core CPU with 4 performance, 6 efficiency cores, and a 10-core GPU. Now, starting at $1399, the Pro model has a 12-core CPU, which is 8 performance cores, 4 efficiency, and a 16-core GPU, giving it some serious horsepower that we'll have to see if it actually translates, right? So with those 2 extra cores, it may look like it's only 2 extra cores, but you're really getting 4 extra performance cores and 2 less efficiency cores. So really, you should get a big uptick in performance, right? But how does it really stack up in benchmarks? Well, I've put both of these models in through some serious tests, starting with our Cinebench stress test, Geekbench CPU and GPU, an SSD speed test, Blender and Final Cut Pro both in ProRes and X264. And with that being said, let's hop into Cinebench and see exactly how these devices handle a stress test. Now, starting with Cinebench, the single core scores are quite close between both of them, both being around that 2,194 for a single core. And on the base model M4, we have 13,691 for our multi-core. And on the M4 Pro, we have 19,466 in our multi-core, which is a huge jump. It's about 42% uplift, even though we have double the performance cores and only 2 more extra cores. So really, it doesn't translate to giving us 50% more performance in that aspect. So the efficiency cores must be doing some, decent work in that aspect. How does this first test really give an overview of what to really expect, right? As you'll see, the single core performance shouldn't really make a difference. It's whenever you get to 3D rendering with CPU intensive workloads or something of that nature that the M4 Pro really should take off and give you that big performance difference you're looking for. Now, let's head over to Geekbench to see if we get a similar story. Now, so the base model M4 hits 3,821 on the single core, while the M4 Pro gets about the same at 355, so they're within that margin of error. But our multi-core score for the M4 Pro or M4 is 14,781, while the M4 Pro gets a 20,366 score. So again, we're still getting that good CPU performance boost, but the GPU is where we get impressive results. So for the base M4, we get a score of 57,628 in our metal GPU benchmark, and on the M4 Pro, we get 98,939. That's about a 72% uplift, even though you're only getting about 62% or 60% more GPU cores, which is exciting for me, because we're going to be able to see if that translates to our other tests, and that is a big performance increase that, if you're going to be working in 3D, might be worth it. So before we hop into those real world tests, let's hop into our SSD speed tests. So when it comes to our SSD speeds, we know that in the past, Apple has kind of slowed down the base model because it's the amount of, the capacity of which the NAND chips. So they used to be 128 gigabyte, but now they're 256. So we only have 1 NAND chip versus 2 NAND chip on the Pro, and that statement still holds true today, or at least in these chips. So the M4 gets a base of 2,000 megabyte reads and 2,900 writes, while the M4 Pro gets 4,000 megabyte reads and 5,000 megabyte writes. So you may see that and think, why is it 50%? Why is it so slow? But in the real world, you're not going to notice it. Especially if you're just an everyday user, you're going to get much different results in terms of whether you need fast or like that's fastest speeds. The only scenario I can really think of is that if you're someone that is constantly transferring files from, like, say you're recording in ProRes, right? Like I have two devices. I might have hundreds of gigs footage, and I transfer it to an external SSD so I can edit off of that SSD. And most of the time that's fine for me, but sometimes there might be cases where you might want all the footage on your device, so you don't have to edit off of it or worry about it being plugged in. And that's where this might help you, especially if you got an SSD that's capable of writing that fast, right? So if this is something that you know that you're going to need, you're going to know it based on the scenario I just gave, right? Especially if you currently run into it a lot. So now, let's get into something a little bit exciting that we can actually see if our performance, performs in real world applications. So to start, we have Blender, and let's just say the difference is going to be noticeable in this. So our test case scenario is the BMW render that it's been going on for years, but it still holds a good solid test result, right? So on the base M4, we get 1 minute and 8 seconds to render out that test scene. And on the M4 Pro, it did it in just 36 seconds. That's an 89% difference. And you can tell them extra GPU cores is going to be a huge improvement and well worth it if you're in the 3D space and actually render a lot from your day-to-day. And then let's head over to Final Cut Pro. So the thing is, in the past, or even currently, right, the M4 chips or M series chips, Apple Silicon, tend to always have the same Apple media encoders, right? So the real test is to see if we're actually going to get any performance difference in rendering, right? So in the ProRes format, for a 10-minute clip, 4K, all the bells and whistles, color grade, and everything, it took 1 minute and 34 seconds on the base M4 and 1 minute and 9 seconds on the M4 Pro. Wow. On the X264, on the base model, we get 4 minutes, 56 seconds. And on the M4 Pro, we get 4 minutes and 49 seconds. So as you'll see here, not really much of an improvement. It might just be the extra RAM, maybe the extra CPU able to process it just slightly faster. But it seems like they're using the same media encoders, and you're not going to really see that big of a difference. So if you're looking for a device that is just going to be specifically for video editing, your base model might be the good choice. Now, one thing I did want to touch on is the power draw and fan noise. During the Cinebench, the base model stayed at about 35 watts and had a fan speeds up to 2,000 RPM. And that it really wasn't audible at all. 2,000 RPM. Apple's got some really good fans that tend to not be audible, but the M4 Pro was quite a bit louder. It pulls about 65 to 67 watts and hit a peak of 3150 on the RPMs, and it was quite audible. I'll see if I can throw up a quick little soundbite of it being recorded. But despite that, it's really not going to be something that distracts you while you're working, especially if it's sitting like further away from you on your desk, like that. So definitely something to, not really have to worry about if you're worried about if it's going to be loud. Now for price to performance at nearly double the price, obviously a little bit more than double. It offers a significant boost for certain areas, especially, like I said, 3D. And heavy CPU workloads, but the base model is just a fantastic deal, especially if you're just, like I said, looking for light video editing, and even if rendering. I mean, if it's something that you got time for, it's still a great device to start at, and you can even throw some extra RAM on it and still be well under the $1,300 price point that you get on that. Or if you want faster speeds, throw some extra SSD in there. but I highly recommend just getting an external SSD. You're not going to really see anything like that. So after all these tests, what is the verdict? The base Mac Mini is still, or is a crazy amazing deal at $599. It offers great performance for everyday tasks in light video editing, especially if that's the only thing you really want to buy it for. But the M4, however, does boast a big performance increase, especially somewhat in the multi-core CPU, but definitely the GPU. So especially if you're going to be someone, like I said earlier, if you're going to be someone in the 3D space, this is going to be the device for you. But in the end, both Mac Minis are impressive in their own right. Apple continues to push the boundaries with the M4 chip and what they can actually, in the power that they can cram in such a small form factor. And with these two models, you can't really go wrong with either of them, whether you're looking for a way to ball on a budget or just have some top tier performance in a small form factor. With that being said, thanks for tuning in. If you found this video helpful at all, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on those notifications because I do got other chips and MacBooks to be bringing out soon. As well as, are you going to get the Mac Mini or are you waiting for another device to see what kind of results we're getting? But with that being said, I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.